consciousness is all and is us, and is the consciousness in our body and in the mind body, and then when we die, does the consciousness leave the body and that's why the body dies? Or does the body die and kick the consciousness out?
Yes, yes. So when you turn your attention to the body, what do you turn your attention to? Let's say, for example, right now, let's turn our attention to the body. Yes? What do you turn your attention to? We can, each one of us, we can do this.
The body is, to me, the physical vehicle that my consciousness is in.
No, I'm asking just, let's put it another way. How do you experience your body right now? What is your experience of your body right now?
I feel it. I can feel it.
Okay, so you're experiencing
Physical.
a bodily sensation.
Yes.
Yes.
And I'm mental.
And an image,
Yes.
image or
Yes.
thought, yes.
Yes.
So you experience your body as bodily sensation and as thoughts and images. And also you perceive your body as perception, because you could look at your legs, at your arms. Yes, as a perception, or in the mirror, whatever, experience it. So we experience the body as thoughts, perceptions, and sensations. Yes, that's just looking at our experience. I'm not doing any philosophical, treatise about the body. I'm just saying, how do we experience our body? And I think we'll all agree that we experience our body, as you just said, as sensations, bodily sensations, perceptions, and thoughts. Now, this bodily sensation, does it arise in consciousness? Or it requires consciousness, arises in essence, or perception, it arises, a perception arises in consciousness, or the thought or image, arises in consciousness. Yes? You get me? So therefore, I could conclude just from my direct contemplation of my experience that the body, meaning perceptions, sensations, and thought, arise in consciousness. So I come to my own understanding, the body arises in consciousness. It's not my experience. It is not my experience that the consciousness is arising in the thought. My experience, I'm just looking at my experience simply. I'm thinking I'm contemplating with myself. I am contemplating my experience, okay, what is my experience of the body? Thoughts, perceptions, and sensations, they arise in consciousness. So yes, true. So I can conclude from that little contemplation that the body-mind, mind meaning thoughts, body meaning perceptions and bodily sensations, arise in consciousness and not the other way around. Now, I would come to a different conclusion if in my contemplation I arrive to the conclusion, oh no, consciousness is arising inside the thought. That's not my experience. My experience is a thought arises in consciousness. And then another thought may arise. And then maybe no thought, etc. So just to, I would start with, I would say, okay, my experience is that the body arises in consciousness. Now the question is, when the body dies, what happens to consciousness? For example, is that
it continues on?
Well, I don't know. Let's see. Let's see. You could say it continues on, and my neighbor says, no, it doesn't continue on. Say, okay, I hear you, I hear my neighbor, let me look at it myself. So I look at it myself. I say, okay, when the body dies, what happens to consciousness? And the first thing that comes to mind is, you can't look at that because the body hasn't died yet. So I remember there was actually a story, a Zen story, where somebody asked the Zen teacher, what happens to consciousness when you die? He says, I don't know because I'm not dead, or something like that. But I am not going to answer that way. I just thought of telling this story because it just arose, this anecdote. I am a living Zen master, not a dead
Yeah,
one,
exactly.
something like that, you know.
Fortunately, there has been a few people that have passed over
Yes,
and have died, and their bodies have died, and then have come back.
Absolutely.
And I've met quite a few of those.
yes. There are quite a,
Yeah.
I don't have personal hand experience, but I read about that. Yes, I read about that. But, which is, I think it's a good point. What's your name?
Dudley.
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 Dudley is bringing. But just alongside what Dudley is saying, I have not died yet. This body has not died. But I know that, for example, when I go to sleep at night, the mind starts to go from the waking state and then the dream state, right? Dream process of dream. The body goes from the sheets, position the pillow, and then slowly the body dissolves. Right? There is no body. There are dream bodies, all sorts of dream bodies. And then there is deep sleep, where even that, the dimmer, that gets dimmed down, the dream bodies and the dream gets dimmed down to very, 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 very low. And the body is. And then there is wake up again. And when I wake up, I say, I had a really good night's sleep, for example. Huh? I remember maybe some dreams, maybe not. But did you sleep? Yeah, I slept. When I say yes, I slept, I am not saying, yes, I dreamt. Yes, I had dreams. Because if you ask me, did you have dreams? I say, if I recall, I may say, yes, I did have dreams. I dreamt whatever. But the question is, did you sleep? And my answer is, yeah, I slept. When I say I slept, I am not referring to dreams. I'm referring to the deep sleep. I'm referring to that no body, no mind, or let's say very, 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 very low body and mind. How do I know that I slept? Because there was no body. The body was not even there. There were no thoughts of, gee, I have to pay my bill tomorrow. Or I have to, call her, otherwise she's going to be pissed at me. There were no thoughts, right? But yet, I say, yeah, I slept. How do I know? How do I know? Something must have been there in deep sleep to say, yeah, now that I'm awake, yeah, I slept. That something is not the body, is not the mind, it's consciousness. So, although this body-mind has not died, meaning it's hasn't been buried 6 feet under, from this experience of deep sleep that is available to us, we can conclude, and if we need to contemplate it, because I can conclude it with certainty, but you have to contemplate it for yourself, that, yeah, The body could be absent, the mind could be absent, but consciousness is present. So what happens to the body, to the consciousness when the body-mind dies? Nothing. Nothing. Consciousness drops. Bodies and minds, not a dime a dozen, a dime, 12 a minute, every minute. Okay, whatever the expression is, it's dropping them and birthing them, body minds galore. Yes? Now, let me share with you something else. Between every thought, between two thoughts, thought A and thought B, there has to be some sort of gap. Because if there was no gap between thought A and thought B, there would be the same thought. There would just be thought A. But we know that we experience many different thoughts. So there is a gap between thought A and thought B and thought C and so on. That applies also with our perception. We perceive different perceptions. They're not one perception. And so there is a gap between perception A, perception B, perception B, perception D. Now, although during thought A there was thought A, and you were aware of thought A, and during thought B you were there aware of thought B, between thought A and thought B you did not disappear. You still are. But there is no thought. Okay, it's true, we agree there is no thought, but you didn't disappear. So between experiences, it's not, although there is no experience, I am. Now, I also am during thought A, and I also am during thought B. I am before thought B, during thought B, and after thought B. I am means consciousness is in the presence of thought and in the absence of thought, in the presence of experience and in the absence of experience, in the presence of perception and in the absence of perception. I am is not dependent on experience A or experience B. Is not dependent on thought A and thought B. Is not dependent on body-mind A and body-mind B. Is not dependent on this body being alive and that body being alive. It's not dependent upon body-mind experiences. Consciousness is reality, which sometimes we refer to as the reality of the self, the absolute, the ultimate reality of being. And the body-mind that you imagine to be reality is just consciousness's dream. Right now, you are dreaming these infinite body-mind forms. You are dreaming yourself as a body-mind. And you are completely free to dream whatever dream you want to dream, and you are completely free of your dream. Your contemplation is the contemplation of your experience. It is completely available to you. It is different from thinking about stuff. It is looking directly at your experience, because all your questions are answered, can be answered in the contemplation of your experience. I would say in the correct contemplation of your experience. Because this is the only way that you will come to certainty, to no doubt. You know, yes, this is what I understood in my experience. Otherwise, you still have uncertainty. You're thinking about this, listening to that thought, thinking like that, and thinking it. You will not appease your thirst without the certainty, without the certitude that comes to you from your direct understanding of your experience.
along the same lines of thinking, I mean, there's certain religions that I pursued, like in Buddhism, where there's a story that enlightenment is it ceases cyclic existence. That you once you achieve that, otherwise you. So that brings me to the question: is there like reincarnation?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
When this body ceases to exist,
Mm-hmm.
do
Yes.
you move on to the
Mm-hmm.
next body?
Yes.
Do you move on to another
Yes.
body? And then if you are enlightened, do you not
Mm-hmm.
move on to
Mm-hmm.
that?
The me thought continues until it is extinguished, until it is completely eradicated. Until it is completely eradicated, the me impression is ongoing. Now, enlightenment is a glimpse into the reality of the self, meaning beyond this me impression. It's a glimpse into the glory of the self. But enlightenment is not the full realization of the self. There are many enlightenment experiences that we have throughout our journey, and they can be very simple insights, and they can also be more glorious, more psychedelic, insights. But they're steps towards the full stabilization of the self. So the me impression, the identification, continues until you are completely done with it, meaning until it's completely eradicated. Now, in the Buddhist tradition, they speak of the bodhisattva, meaning the established self that chooses to return in order to help others. But what others? The self is ever available. Consciousness is never hidden. What does it need to return or not return? Consciousness is ever available. You are never, ever an iota away from consciousness. You are that. The ocean is never away from itself. Every wave is never away from the ocean. The wave is just an impression. It's a mind impression. It's a thought. It's the current thought that I am a person. It's the current feeling that I feel in me. It's just a current feeling, a current thought. There is no reality that belongs to the thought. The reality belongs to consciousness. And consciousness is free to dream infinite personal mind impressions, and consciousness is free to invite itself in a particular body-mind impression to recognize its wholeness. It's just consciousness's game. And right now, in this room, in this world, in this event that you're experiencing, you are invited to recognize yourself as the self, as the universal self. You are invited in a very unveiled way. And in veiled ways, consciousness is eternally inviting you. But here it is inviting you, it's lifting the veil. It's inviting you that way. Whatever you wish is your experience. So if you wish to continue your worldly experience, you continue your worldly experience. When you wish it to end, then you end it. But you see, we wish to end it, but I also like to go to experience
I just want it
this
to
and
be
that.
fun.
Yeah, I want to be fun. Yeah. So okay, fine, no problem. It's available to you. You can play the game.
Yeah.
But what you are seeking in the depth of your being is the full radiance of the self. No, not short, nothing short of that. Nothing short of that. And that is available to you. That's available to you. The full revelation of the self is completely available to you. That's what I speak of. Thank you very much for your very, very lovely company and your love and your friendship being here. Thank you.